Today,
We will talk about misconducts associated with research. There are many activities that do not define as misconduct, but which are still regarded by most researchers as unethical. These are called as other deviations from acceptable research practices. These include publishing the same paper in two different journals without telling the editors. The purpose of publishing research in one particular journal only is to ensure that the information is stored in a specific manner in a specific location and is not duplicated. Not informing the collaborators of your intent to file a patent in order to make sure that you are the sole inventor. This topic has a little gray area. The information of the collaborator, both from their side and your side, should be open. If the collaborator finds at the later stage that you have been hiding information or data from them, the chances are that they will take back the finances they have involved or invested in you. This can be a loss of finances for you, or this can damage your reputation. Including a colleague as an author on a paper in return of a favor, even though the colleague did not make a serious contribution to the paper. Sometimes it happens that there are four friends. One friend says, I will give all three your names in my research paper. You can do the same for me. When this happens, all four individuals will have four individual papers. The idea of publishing is to ensure that the person who has worked hard in a particular paper, in a particular research, is given a proper name and he or she is helped in such a way that the individual who has worked is able to improve or gain in his career. In scientific research, career are more associated with publication and research. More number of publication means that you have better research. But remember, generally, the first two authors and the corresponding author has a high value as compared to the other authors. There are many scientists who I personally know have their work published as a favor because that individual is also going to publish the name of other researchers. If you have done some work in that particular paper, you can give that paper and the people in that work, names, location, educational institute in that particular publication. But if somebody has not worked, one should avoid giving their names. Discussing with your colleagues confidential data from a paper that you are reviewing for a journal. There will be a time when you will be doing reviewing for a particular journal. You will be a reviewer for them. They will be sending you information, and this information might contain some aspects which are financially important for the author, or they might be having some patentable application. If we, as a reviewer, inform our friends or colleagues, or we ourselves use these particular information, then it is a wrong way and it is a misconduct. These misconducts comes under stealing. Trimming outliers from a dataset without discussing your reasons in paper. Sometimes in a paper, there are information which are not mentioned in a research paper, and these information are supposed to be at the end. They come under appendix. So sometimes one result is explained properly with these appendices. Now, what happens is, if you have a particular research done and you are, it's a big research, and there are certain places where you don't think that the journal is going to accept more than a particular number of pages, then you inform all these information in appendix. Now, what happens? The results that you have explained in your main article can be understood by the information that is given in these extra appendices. If you are not giving them, the information is half and it is not complete information. Using an inappropriate statistical technique in order to enhance the significance of your research. Manipulating numbers, data sets, all these things specifically in which you require size, mass, ratio, all these things. These mathematical information can generally be manipulated very easily. For example, if you are supposed to measure the circumference of a cabbage, then some students, either they are lazy, or either they don't want to work, or either they don't have time, or some or the other reason, which they know the best. What they do is that they take the circumference of 5 or 10 cabbages, and for the rest 40 or 50, they randomly write a number which is close to the average of these five. This is a wrong practice. Bypassing the peer review process and announcing your results through a press conference without giving peers adequate information to review your work. Sometimes it happens that an individual is either too eager to inform about his work, or is too scared that the peers might reject his work for some reason or the other. And so, what they do is that they bypass the peer review process and they use channels like press conferences in order to give information about the work they are doing. The purpose of peer review is to identify any loopholes or mistakes in any particular research. When this method of peer reviewing is not done properly, the individuals suffer and their research also suffer, and the people who might have benefited from that research, they also end up suffering. Conducting a review of literature that fails to acknowledge the contribution of other people in the field or relevant prior work. If you are doing a review of literature, in that literature review, you have identified many information, but you have forgotten or you have omitted to name the major researchers and their authors in order to make or show that the work belongs to you. That is wrong conduct. Whenever you are going for review of a literature, you make sure that there is a proper citation for every individual who has worked, whose work you have taken and using. Stretching the truth on a grant application in order to convince reviewers that your project will make a significant contribution to the field. Sometimes scientists, when writing their project proposal for a particular grant, what they do is that they inform the grant givers that the information or the work which they are going to do is going to be extremely useful for everybody on the planet. What they don't understand is that the individuals who are reviewing your grant proposal, they themselves have a team who understands your topic and can work and analyze the mistakes in that particular proposal. It is most often pretty difficult to fool the individuals or the institutions which are going to give you the grant. This is something similar as stretching the truth on a job application or in a CV, because all these informations are now either available on the internet or they are available at one phone call. One thing is, although this is not ethically misconduct, doesn't come under misconduct, but it is still unethical. It is, you have two students and you give them the same research proposal to work on just to find out who can work on that proposal first or the fastest. This is basically wastage of time for all three individuals. Both the students, only one person is going to benefit from it. The other student is not going to benefit. And as a faculty, you will be involved in wasting your time with both of them. Overworking, neglecting, or exploiting graduate or postdoctoral students. It is wrong to overwork these students. Just because they are your project students doesn't make give you the right to exploit them to do your personal work, to do your office work. Just because they are your students and they have certain research experience, it doesn't mean that you can neglect them. It doesn't make any sense in exploiting your students with reference to finances for gifts. I remember a case where I was informed that this particular fellow is my student and he's going to pay for the whole party for as long as I want him to. That's a very wrong attitude. Failing to keep good research records, always remember, it is very important to keep research records, and these research records should be kept in such a way that they are not destroyed or damaged, because these research records can be asked for at any time for a particular duration, and if you are unable to give these records, the research sometimes may be nullified. As I said, these research records are supposed to be maintained for a reasonable period of time. In some cases, it is 5 years to 10 years. Sometimes it is for 15 to 25 years. And if this data is not available at that time, then the research might be nullified. If you are a reviewer and you are making personal attacks or derogatory comments, कि इसको तो आता ही नहीं है कुछ, he doesn't know anything, he's a useless fellow, these type of personal attacks in your reviews, they are also wrong. Promising a student a better grade for sexual favors. Remember, if anybody asks you for sexual favors in exchange for better grades, you have to report immediately. There are chances that you will not get the grades, but you will be hurt both emotionally and physically. There is a lot of psychological damage with these type of individuals. The best thing to do is to report them immediately. And same is the case with racism. If there is any type of racism which is seen in the laboratory, that is to be reported immediately. Making significant deviations from the research protocol approved by your institution's Animal Care and Use Committee or Institutional Review Board for Human Subjects Research without telling the committee or the board. Sometimes we have to modify our protocols. It is an inherent part of research that one protocol which might have worked for one individual might not work for another one, maybe because of a simple factor like humidity, maybe because of a simple factor like heat. In that case, what you have to remember is that the IRBs, the institutional review boards, and the ethical committees on animal care and animal use, these are informed about modification of your protocol if there is a major change. Small changes, for example, 25 degrees Celsius is the keeping temperature, you want to increase it to 28 degrees Celsius, that's still acceptable in many organizations. But if you're keeping them at 28 to 30 degrees, 31 degrees, 32 degrees, where the temperature is 28, 24 degrees requirement, then that is a deviation. That is animal cruelty. Not reporting an adverse event in a human research experiment. If there has been a particular death because of a particular drug that we are giving or testing during the clinical trials, an individual has to report these deaths. The researchers in all the major scientific fields, researchers in all the biomedical fields, researchers in all psychology field, all of them, whenever they are working with human candidates, they make sure that these adverse events are recorded and informed so that mistakes can be learned in order to improve from these mistakes. Wasting animals in research. Wasting of animals in research is also wrong. It is not a good idea to waste these animals just because they are small or they are not expensive. Exposing students and staff to biological risk in violation of your institution's biosafety rules. Throwing away biohazard in a normal non-biohazard dustbin. Throwing away agar and media without autoclaving. All these factors they come under institutions' biosafety rules, and they have to be dealt with strictly because sometimes these factors can cause severe damage and disease in the workers who are working with you. Rejecting a manuscript for publication without even reading it, sabotaging someone's work, stealing supplies, books, or data, rigging an experiment so you know how it will turn out. All these things, they are extremely wrong, and I have seen them personally happen. I have seen where an individual's stored uh, glycerol stock has been stolen. I have seen where an individual has added contaminant to a particular microbial plate as the experiment was going on. So these things, they are extremely wrong, and they are there are chances that the individual, if caught, will be penalized by revoking of degree or expulsion from the organization and all these things. Then making unauthorized copy of data, papers, or computer programs. This is theft. Deliberately overestimating the clinical significance of a new drug in order to obtain economic benefits. There are organizations which have tried to do this. They have given information that their drug is clinically significant. It is going to work on so many particular diseases, but they were not able to prove or provide information associated with it. These actions would be regarded as unethical by most scientists, and some might even be illegal. Most of these would also violate different professional ethic codes or institutional policies. We will discuss the codes and policies for research ethics. Given the importance of ethics for the conduct of research, it should come as no surprise that many different professional associations, government agencies, and universities have adopted specific codes, rules, and policies related to research ethics. Many government agencies, such as NIH, National Institute of Health, NSF, National Science Foundation, FDA, Food and Drug Administration, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, have ethics rules for funded researchers. Other influential researcher ethics policies include the uniform requirement for manuscripts submitted to biomedical journals, International Committee for Medical Journal Editors, the Chemist Code for Conduct, ACS, American Chemical Society, Code of Ethics, American Society for Clinical Laboratory Science, Ethical Principle for Psychologists, APA, American Psychological Association, Statements on Ethics and Professional Responsibility, American Anthropological Association, Statement on Professional Ethics, American Association for University Professors, the Nuremberg Code, and the Declaration of Helsinki, World Medical Association, WMA. The following is a rough and general summary of some ethical principles that various codes addresses. Honesty. Strive for honesty in all scientific communication. Honestly report data, results, methods and procedures, and publication status. Do not fabricate, falsify, or misrepresent data. Do not deceive colleagues, granting agencies, or the public. The main idea is to be truthful. The more truthful you will be with reference to your research, more people will believe you and your work. If you're going to hide data, if you're going to manipulate results, if you're not going to show the methods or the procedures, or if you're going to show or submit your publication into different journals at the same time, all these things, they come under dishonesty. This will make sure that your reputation is not good. Objectivity. Strive to avoid bias in experimental design, data analysis, data interpretation, peer review, personal decisions, grant writing, expert testimony, and other aspects of research where objectivity is expected or required. Avoid or minimize bias for self-deception. Disclose personal or financial interest that may affect research. The idea behind objectivity is to ensure that nothing is hidden, nothing has a particular bias towards a person or an organization or self. When we have a self bias or a bias towards a particular organization or an individual, there are chances that the research will be corrupted at some level or the other. For example, if an organization has a particular bias towards a particular scientist, then the individual will be getting the funding for the research. Once the individual gets the funding for the research, he may take it for granted and not work properly, objectively. Integrity. Keep your promises and agreements. Act with sincerity. Strive for consistency of thought and action. Remember that integrity is it is very important that carefulness. Avoid careless errors and negligence. Carefully and critically examine your own work and the work of your peers. Keep good records of research activities such as data collection, research design, and correspondence with agencies or journals. It is important not to be careless. If you are going to be careless, these careless mistakes can cost you your career because mistakes during research is a sign that you are not a good researcher. Openness. Share data, results, ideas, tools, resources, and be open to criticism and new ideas. If you are going to be open, you will be able to receive information also. If you are going to be closed, you will not receive information yourself. It is a very simple concept in life. More information you provide, more information you gain. Less information you provide, less information you gain. Respect for intellectual property. Honor patents, copyrights, and other forms of intellectual property. Do not use unpublished data, methods, or results without permission. Give credit where credit is due. Give proper acknowledgement or credit for all contributions to research. Never plagiarize. It is always important to remember that if you will not like when somebody will steal your work, others will also not like when you will steal their work. If you will not like people doing things without your permission associated with your research, others will not like you doing things or publishing their data without their permission. Confidentiality. Protect confidential communication, such as papers or grants submitted for publication, personal record, trade or military secrets, and patent records. It is important that you have good confidentiality rules in your own life. It is a wrong act to inform others about others' work without their permission. Responsible publication. Publish in order to advance research and scholarship, not to advance just in your own career. Avoid wasteful and duplicative publications. The idea is to advance a particular area of research so that everybody can benefit from that. If you're going to responsibly publish your work, more individual will be able to benefit from that publication. If you are going to publish at different locations at the same time, there are chances you might come under plagiarism. Responsible mentoring. Help to educate, mentor, and advise students. Promote their welfare and allow them to make their own decisions. Do not force your students or your juniors to work on a particular topic that you are interested in. If they have a particular idea, help them grow. It is important as a faculty or as a senior that when a junior comes to you for help associated with the work, you inform the student or your junior how you can help them or how they can improve with their project. Respect your colleagues and treat them fairly. Do not steal their work. Do not hide their research material. Do not manipulate their results. These all come under unethical policies and work ethics. Social responsibility. Strive to promote social and prevent or mitigate social harms through research, public education, and advocacy. The idea is to promote social good. The idea is to reduce any harm which can be caused because of a research. The thing that you have seen in recent years is how China is suffering a bad name because it is unable to defend itself in a very clear way to the public about how it was unable to do social responsibility in a good way. Non-discrimination. Avoid discrimination against all colleagues or students on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, or other factors that are not related to their scientific competence and integrity. Discrimination done against your colleagues or students or juniors or peers on the basis of these factors are a ground for suspension from that particular research or maybe from the institution. Competence. Maintain and improve your own professional competence and expertise through lifelong education and learning. Take steps to promote competence in science as a whole. The idea is to improve yourself and to maintain your scientific knowledge, which is at par with the current world knowledge. Legality. Know and obey relevant laws and institutional and governmental policies. If you are going to not follow these laws, then you are bound for legal action. This may make your career go down along with your reputation and financial losses. Animal care. Show proper respect and care for animals when using them in research. Do not conduct unnecessary or poorly designed animal experiments. These animals also pain also feel the pain and they are alive. When untreated, these animals suffer and die a horrible death. Some experiments require them to die a painful and a horrible death. But those conditions, scientists can decide to kill the animal before the pain starts as soon as the results are obtained. Secondly, sometimes in order to obtain certain results, the animal is supposed to be killed. These killing methods should be humane and should be pain-free. Human subject protection. When conducting research on human subjects, minimize harms and risks and maximize benefits. One should know how to respect human dignity, the individual's privacy, and his autonomy. The scientists have to take special precautions with vulnerable population, which includes old people, children, and those suffering from a specific type of disease. And they should strive to distribute the benefits and burden of research fairly. When conducting researches associated with human subjects, one has to ensure that they get the maximum benefit out of it. Some experiments require a double-blind study. In these double-blind study, a patient who is suffering sometimes receives a placebo. Now, the purpose of a double-blind study is to ensure that neither the researcher nor the patient or the participant knows what the drug is and who is giving and who is receiving. In these cases, we have to ensure that the dignity of the patient is maintained.
Let's talk about the three R's which are associated with research: replacement, reduction, and refinement. What we have to understand is that these three R's are associated with code of practices for the care and use of animals for scientific purpose. Well, we know that most of the researches in medical and biological science requires the use of animals. Now, it is important because the whole idea behind doing a particular research is either to improve the quality of plants for human consumption or usage, or to uh, improve the quality of life for human beings. So the ultimate aim is to benefit the human beings. Now, in any particular research, if you're going to use animals, the whole idea is that we are using these animal models so that we can identify the issues which can rise because of use of a particular chemical or a particular research that we are doing on the human beings. For example, if there is a new um, food coloring agent that has been identified, or a new food flavor that has been made by a food company. The food industry is supposed to test the effect of that particular artificial flavor on animals and identify if that is going to cause any disease in the animals or not. Same is the case with vaccines. If we talk about the recent case COVID vaccine, all these studies were done at different levels before it reached the human beings. Um, it was done on mouse, and then it was done on rats, and then it was done on monkeys, and then it reached the human level. So, whatever research you're doing, the first place where you go for testing of these products effects on a living cell, the first place is are the cell lines. You're going to do if you're going to do if you're making a nanoparticle for anti-cancer nanoparticle, or a drug delivery anti-cancer nanoparticle. So the first place you're going to look for is on a cell line. Suppose you're targeting human lung cell cancer. So the what you're going to do is you're going to test the effect of these nanoparticles on human lung cell lines, your lung cancer cell lines. And then if the effects are good, then you're going to try and repeat the experiment in rats and mice. And then if it goes further, if it is showing a better improvement in recognition, then you're going to take it to monkeys. And then after that, it reaches the clinical trial stage. So the whole idea is that once it reaches the animals level of experimentation, then there are a few things which the scientists have to make sure that they follow. Now, we know that ethics is something associated with righteousness, and these animals, although they are extremely large in quantity, in number, for example, if you take about rats, they can multiply very fast, and very soon we can have uh, thousands and thousands of, for example, black sea mice. So that's a specific type of mice which has certain genes knockout and all those things. Now, these mice, they although are in a very large quantity, but to kill them unnecessary is a bit inhumane. So these three R's are associated with animal studies, and the scientists are expected to work on these three R's in such a way that it helps the scientific community, but at the same time, it doesn't harm or stress out the animals very much. If we talk about replacement, the first R, which is the replacement. So here the techniques that totally or partially replace the use of animals for scientific purpose must be sought and used wherever possible. So this is generally the first case which happens. In this case, generally what happens is you have your cell lines. These cell lines which have been manufactured, they were one of the ways to identify a replacement for animal studies. So these cell lines, what they do is these are immortal cell lines, and these cell lines are a good predictor of the results of a particular experiment. So there should be some methods where, if possible, if you don't have to do animal studies, then if you have to do animal studies, then one should first try and look for replacement, because these replacement will save the animal from pain as well as death. Because if you talk about the cancer experiments in the initial days, these the Hitler army, the SS, and the Nazis, what they did was they experimented on human beings first, just to see directly the effect of different type of diseases, different type of cancers, and the human beings, they died a very horrible and a very painful death. So the replacement for those things came out to be the animal studies. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to replace these animals with such techniques or such scientific methods where we can uh, y- remove the use of animal altogether and use the replacement technique for to identify the result of a particular drug or a experiment. Then comes your reduction. See, reduction says each project must use no more than the minimum number of animals necessary to ensure scientific and statistical validity. The principle of reducing the number of animals used should not be implemented at the expense of greater suffering of individual animals. Scientific and teaching activities involving the use of animals must not be repeated unless essential for the purpose or design of the project. Teaching activities must involve no more than the minimum number of animals required to reach the educational objective. Overproduction of animal bred for scientific purpose should be avoided so that the need to kill healthy animals is minimized. There are a few different factors associated with this. These reduction issue associated with this animal working says that the whole idea is to reduce the number of animals necessary for that particular experiment so that you are not using any unnecessary animals and not killing any unnecessary animals for the uh, research work. Because sometimes it happens that research activities they work in a different manner. Uh, if you have overproduction of animals because you think that you can have too many mice in the school cage, and in that case you have too many mice because every student can do the experiment twice, and then you end up with some sort of issue when the experiments don't take place. You have to end up killing the healthy mice for experiments, for not for experiments. So that is your reduction. So the whole idea is that you have to reduce the numbers of animals which are used in the experiment to the minimum number required.